so much of what this is that I share is about seeing through the I thought, seeing through the identification wherever it arises, to see that whatever is happening to no one. There's no one doing it. There is no doer. It's all a construction of mind. It's all after the fact. There is seeing happening, hearing, touching, feeling, thinking, cognizing, but there is no one. There's no separate self who sees, who hears, who feels in the direct experience of what is. And this can be confirmed. This can be investigated and seen. So even intuition happens for no one, and it's playing out. If we bring it into our story, into our me story, it just becomes another story, another drama, or whatever it is. A nice one, a beautiful one, great. It's wonderful. But ultimately, it's just another impersonal arising in consciousness, in the absolute consciousness or totality, which we are, and which is as free whether there's intuition or not. So again, it's just making that distinction between our individual story in this dream of appearances and who we truly are, which is totally unaffected and untouched, and including all of it. Certainly, it's all welcome in this truth, in this satsang, in this reality that we are.
Yeah. So that's what I had the problem with, was I felt like my mother had done it to me, that she'd not told me the truth and lied to me, and I really have held on to that horribly until about last week, in fact, when I let it go.
Yeah, that's why we come to satsang. Even as you relate the story, I'm so aware of, I'm listening to you and present to the story, but I'm more present to what is present, to what is here, to what is not in a story, because I see that. I see who you are. Who you were 10 minutes before you opened your mouth about this story. There was no story. It's the real dropping away is just recognizing what never was in it, the story, for whom, or say it another way, what's absolutely free to have the story, to include it in satsang, have it sit down, have a seat. So, because it's all included here. It's this all-inclusive awakened awareness that we are, also.
I feel much better for it from last week, so thank you for that.
Yeah. So you got a taste or a glimpse of this freedom. You just in. So yeah, you can be true to that. You acknowledge it. You can rest as this that you are, and when the story comes, it comes. You welcome it. Come, because it'll go again too. And notice when it goes that it's gone. That wow, in this moment I'm cooking dinner or whatever, and I'm really not in a story. And the ego might hate that, whatever ego identification is the story, because it doesn't want to acknowledge that it's not your story all the time. No, it's really serious. Even after all these years, it's me. It defines who I am. So, but it's a bit humbling sometimes to that ego to recognize that it's not who you are, and that you're so this identification or these stories, these dramas, they come when they come, they go. We can notice that most of the time, most of the day, they're not present. Actually, it just takes a little investigation to see. For 10 minutes here and 20 minutes there, or 2 hours there, you really had no story. Nothing ever happened. There's nothing to forgive your mother or anything else, because no harm was done, because you're free in that moment.
For sure. It's taken me such a long time to get there, though.
And that's the resolution. This is the resolution. Just this moment in itself, as itself, and just being this moment, just being this presence awareness, without the story, without judging and. Yeah. So I see that. I see that in you. I see it in your eyes, just in the moment of listening, and you're like, nodding your head. So. You're welcome.
Is this totality just in the present, or does it sort of in the here and now, or does it encompass all that's happened or will happen? The future. I mean, where is its limit?
Well, I there's all these words, omnipresent, omniscient, etc., which are all just fancy words to say, hey, it's limitless. Let's not say it's limited, but even that is a kind of definition which might exclude apparent limitation.
Yes.
So let's not exclude anything, or let's inquire, let's investigate, let's see if we can find a limit to this moment. Where does this moment end? When did it begin? So so where's the past and future in relation to this moment, other than an appearance in this moment? And a moment, we could just say, is another name for the absolute, for the totality, because it's always this moment. If there's any past or present, it's appearing here. It's always now. It's always right now. And this can be, investigated and confirmed. So whatever is appearing here, including our whole past memories and future anticipation, is a nuance of the totality in this moment. It's just what the appearance of that totality, whole and complete in itself, as itself, moment to moment to moment. And in truth, there are no moments. There's just the moment.
Okay, I understand. But sorry.
That's fine. You're totally
Does it play out
fine.
over time, then moment by moment by moment by moment?
Well,
And it is limited by time.
The idea that it plays out in time, or the appearance, or even the experience to someone, to a separate self, a reference point, to whom it seems to be playing out in time, is all of it, all together, a nuance, a lighting up in awareness all at once. It's like the Big Bang, all at once. So yes and no. It seems to be playing out in time, and to an individual. It's only meaningful, time is only meaningful to a reference point, comparing one moment to another moment. And that reference point is already ever so subtly, or not so subtly, separate from what is. And what is the totality, and there is no separation from that. So this can be seen, because seeing through the false self, or the false reference point, is also seeing through the distinctions that apparent observer or reference point makes. Distinctions between all kinds of stuff. In this little Advaita group I chat with online sometimes, these beautiful beings, they're all debating again about Brahman and Para-Brahman. Para-Brahman is prior to Brahman, and Brahman is the absolute totality. And what can be prior to what is already everything? And the Turiya, or the Turiya Tita state. And again, I pull my head out, and I don't know how to speak to them, but I want to scream that all of these concepts, these distinctions, are only meaningful in relation to some reference point, some I, for whom there is a distinction. And so the inquiry again is to ask, who is the I to whom this distinction is a distinction, and the distinction. These distinctions don't exist without that false I. They're false distinctions. They're all false distinctions if you see that the I that makes the distinction is false, or the mind. So the only resolution of all of these things isn't by, what is it, some myth somewhere, I don't know if it's Indian, what's holding up the earth? It's a giant green turtle.
I know that one.
Okay, so that's the truth. A turtle holds up the earth. So then the mind is like, well, what's holding up the turtle? Oh, it's another turtle.
Yeah.
And it's just turtles, turtles, turtles all the way down. It's an infinite regress. And so a lot of these debates, even as beautiful and sophisticated as they are, at the end of the day, they're all just beside the point. They're just missing the point. They're making distinctions where there are none. And it's all just turtles, more green turtles, that they're arguing how many angels fit on the head of a pin. It's that kind of nonsense. And when you get it, you smile. So the direct path again is seeing through this I, the reference point from whom there is such a distinction, because that is already separate from the totality, and you are the totality, and it makes no difference to the totality what these distinctions are. I mean, call it whatever you want to call it. Call it God, but call it consciousness, but if it ain't prior to, after, beyond, and all of it, it ain't God. It ain't the total. So by definition. So otherwise you just get into this infinite regress. The Turiya state is the stateless state. It includes the three states: sleeping, waking, and dreamless sleep. So to posit another state beyond that, it's just a mind thing. It's just so irrelevant. And then some teachers, some gurus have, 6, 7, 8, 9 levels of enlightenment. And what's pointed to in satsang for me is what has no levels. There's no measuring it or comparing it. It's what is. It's absolutely non-dual, ever-present. The totality is just kind of the language I feel comfortable with at the moment, because it's so all-inclusive.
I think I understand.
Yeah,
Something to chew on.
Yeah, well, chew on it and then spit it out, because it's not about understanding anything anyway. It has its place. Understanding has its place for sure. The mind, needs to understand, but also, the real grokking, the real knowingness is just itself.